shores of Monster Island to the depths of a hollow earth. Not another Kaiju podcast.
What is up, Kaiju United? We're back with another episode of Not Another Kaiju podcast. And this time, I talked David and Nick into watching Mega Monster Battle, Ultra Galaxy Legends, the movie. Just as big of a mouthful as a title as GMK, but I think it's quite the fun Ultraman movie, and an important one at that.
And also, not to be confused with Ultra Galaxy Mega Monster Battle, the series. Totally different thing.
Yes. It's Ultraman does that weird thing where it's like, insert title of show the movie, and then they were like, we'll call it that. So, I watched this movie back in 2012, so I've got a history with this movie. It was actually the film that got me into Ultraman, and I became a fan. Zero is my favorite Ultra, so it's the movie that introduced Zero. What more can you want from this? But I think Nick watched it for the first time at Kaiju Brooklyn.
That is correct.
And then David, you watched it for the first time for this episode.
I did.
Let's dive into that. What are your initial reactions?
I was really surprised because obviously I've been sort of keeping up with a lot of Ultra stuff over the past couple of years, but I didn't know that this was the movie that introduced both Zero and Ultraman Belial. I was just like, oh, these guys have been around for a while. I thought they had been introduced in the series itself, not the movie. So like, oh, wait, I'm not supposed to know who these guys are. And Zero barely gets introduced until like almost the end of the movie. It was just kind of surprising to see like, oh, this is kind of where all the new stuff that's like the current canon started. It was a little interesting to see that.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's a good place to start. I mean, it might get a little confusing because there's a lot of characters in this movie, and it's like it's like watching Infinity War and nothing else. But
that's how you described it to me.
I've heard it described as that. Yeah.
I mean, it predated Infinity War. I mean, it came out in 2009, so maybe they took a page out of this movie.
I mean, hey, inspiration. So, like you mentioned, Jacob, I saw this at the most recent Kaiju Brooklyn, and before this, the only Ultraman that I had been exposed to was Shin Ultraman and Ultraman Blazar, which I still need to finish. I need to pick that back up again. But full disclosure, I'm not really too much of an Ultraman fan. Not in the way is like, oh no, I don't want to watch Ultraman. I'm open to it, but I'm just more of a Godzilla fan. Yeah, so having only seen those two pieces of media, I was really like, I don't know, I guess uneducated on Ultraman, but watching this with everybody, it really kind of made me like go, oh, I get it, Ultraman. I get it now. You know what I mean?
Which is, yeah, I totally get it, because that's kind of, I mean, at least for modern Ultra, that's what it's all about. This movie gets a little more actiony and it's more fun. Zero's got that cocky personality that, throughout the course of the rest of the 15 years of Ultraman Zero, you see him grow out of that, which is really cool, and to see that this is where it started. But I totally agree with you in terms of like the sheer level of fun this movie has and its sequel, but we're not here to talk about that yet.
Yeah, it's like, cause when I watched Ultraman, like when I watched Shin Ultraman at Kaiju Brooklyn 2023, I mean, I enjoyed myself, but I noticed that the Ultraman fans in the audience like having fun with it in a way that I just wasn't. To me, I was just watching another Hideki Anno Kaiju tokusatsu movie. And then I started watching Ultraman Blazar after your recommendation. And I was like, oh, okay. I mean, okay, like I understand like what the series is a little bit more. And then cut to Kaiju Brooklyn 2, you and me and everybody else watching it in the courtyard. And by the end, I'm like, okay, yeah,
And it's just got the two most memorable characters in the past 15 years that have fought against each other and have established the new legacy of, it basically ushered in this new era. I kind of think Belial's a little more fun in this movie than Zero, because Zero's just kind of a prick that's learning how to be better. But man, and I'm pretty sure, and the Ultra fans that really know their stuff can correct me on this because I'm still watching through the series. This movie was also the first major appearance of the homeworld of Ultra. I mean, we saw a little bit of it throughout the years, but this is the first time we saw the city, like just random citizens walking around. So to have the opening fight taken directly to the heart of where Ultras come from was such a huge deal at the time too. But Belial is just too much fun. I love that guy. He's such a dastardly little shithead.
I love him, and it kind of goes back to what I said earlier about like not realizing this is where he got his start. You know, I've seen Ultraman Geed, seen little bits with he's has a weird presence in Ultraman Z with Belia Rock. I still don't know what the connection with that is, but like everyone's always like, oh, Belial's this super evil. He's like the big bad, and I never super really got that vibe from anything I'd seen from Belia. Like obviously, yeah, I can tell he's an evil dude, but that opening fight in the Land of Light really hammers home. Oh yeah, no, this is a very bad dude. He is tearing shit up. It was it was almost funny. It was kind of funny to watch, just hammering that home.
I found it funny that.
Oh, go ahead, Nick.
Oh no, I was just saying in that opening scene, I found it funny that when he's kicking all the other Ultras' asses, you could see the other Ultras in the background just waving their hands in the air as if the director said, just pretend like you're doing something. I feel like if in a realistic scenario, not to pick apart the movie right away, but I feel like in a realistic scenario, all the Ultras on the planet could have taken him on.
I don't think they could have. He's a strong dude, man. The Ultraman King, the Burger King himself, had to build a prison just to surround him. I mean, that's some pretty gnarly stuff.
I mean, you can't have like 4 people take him from behind where he's not looking. I don't know.
Man, they had the strongest, the captain of the Ultra garrison himself, the father of Ultra, Ken, try and take him on, and it didn't work. Like the only person that could stop this guy was Ultraman King, and he didn't do anything. He just let it happen.
I feel like that's kind of Ultraman King's whole deal, though. He doesn't really get involved in much.
No, I did appreciate the before he goes to the Land of Light that the little bad guy that frees him, I forgot the name. He's like, Ultraman Belial, I have freed you. Now we can conquer everything together. And Belial grabs the Giga Battlenizer and just zaps him like a bug and just kills him. I was like, yeah, okay.
That guy, he was at the New York Comic-Con Subaraya panel stage show.
Oh, yes.
He's a goober. I like it. What's his name again? Hang on, I'm going to look
Is
that
up.
Is
it Alien Zarab?
I think so.
I think it's Alien Zarab.
Yeah, I think it's Alien Zarab. But it did a really good job, again, Infinity War comparisons of going, holy crap, the entire Ultra Brothers and all the Ultra Garrison itself cannot take this guy down. We might have to grab a Zero. If you've seen anything else with Zero in it, you know that Zero is disgustingly overpowered. But we love him for that.
What were those things? Did they have him in like were they like handicaps, that suit he was wearing when he was like training?
Yeah, it was armor to keep him grounded, keep his power down to a level so he can contain it. Because trivia time, Belial is actually the first evil Ultraman. throughout the years, you've had like Mephiles and Zerub and those guys like make fake clones and disguise themselves as Ultras as a Mirage. But this was the first time an Ultra was like, "Nah, I'm evil. I turned to the dark side." So
Was
they
Zerub
didn't
even
want
that much of a threat? Because based off what I saw him in this movie and how he acted at the stage show, he doesn't really seem like that. He seems like a very inept kind of person, like a henchman or like a goofball.
I mean, his original episode in the original series is pretty bad. Not bad. he's pretty bad in the original Ultraman. Sorry.
So that's a thing that happens throughout the series. Like, I think the biggest example is Zeton. In the original Ultraman show, spoilers, Zeton completely wipes the floor with Ultraman. And I guess you can see that in Shin Ultraman, Zeton does that as well. In some of the modern new generation shows, Zeton's like the stepping stone bad guy now. Like, he jobs out to the newest hero. It's like, this Ultraman beat Zeton, and he almost killed the original Ultraman. That's how you know they're powerful. So
he's like the go-to, don't fuck with this guy.
Yeah, Zerub was cool. He was a good villain of the week. And he did some fun stuff. But those guys are definitely, I guess they use Zerub to play up how bad Belial is, because Zerub, tried to take over the Earth and disguised himself as different things throughout the shows. So I don't think he's too big of a chump when you're comparing him to Belial, but there's definitely a trend in the shows to, especially with like the newer shows, they'll take the villain from the previous series and put him in the next show, beat him up, so now there's a bigger bad. It's kind of fun. But David was right about the original appearance. But enough about that. I want to know what scene stood out to you guys. Obviously, David, you like the opening fight on Land of Light, but was there any more that really stood out to you?
Well, I don't know if we want to get into this early, but that final battle with the Chimera monster.
I think we can get into that, because that's the big motif of the villain. He's a Rayonics. They have the ability to control monsters. Ray is like an Ultraman monster Pokemon trainer. You spend the movie like, oh, he's got the power of 100 monsters, so he just must be very strong. And then he comes out with his trump card, and it's literally 100 monsters fused together with him. You're like, what?
Yeah, that was I a lot of this stuff was stuff I was like somewhat aware of in terms of the Ultra canon, however loose that canon may be, but that was another thing. Like, I think it's Beludra or something is the name of that big creature at the end. That was something I was aware of, but no idea it was in this movie. So I'm watching things and it's like, oh, that was kind of anticlimactic. That seemed way too easy. Something's gonna happen, and then bam, it's Beludra. I'm like, oh, this is what it's from. Okay, we're doing this now.
I feel like this movie is the encapsulation of Ultraman and the pop culture osmosis for kaiju fans, because everything you can think of for the modern age of Ultra either came from this movie or it was in this movie. Like, the past 15 years, like, looks back at this. This is like, the kickoff to a new era. So I think it's really interesting that even if you've watched the other shows and you come back to this movie, you're like, oh my gosh, that was here. So it almost makes it more rewarding as you become more seasoned in Ultraman to come back and watch these films. And I think that's really cool. What about you, Nick? What stood out to you?
I was going to say the ending too, but I don't want to parrot David. So, I mean, I liked the scenes with Zero and, oh God, what was his name? The guy who was training him?
Leia,
yeah. I like where he when he realizes his true potential, he realizes, hey, this is what I got to do, and comes to save the day. And really, because you said, Jacob, this was Zero's debut, and where he really established himself in the Ultraman franchise. And I think they really did a good job at establishing like that, hey, this is a character that we intend to have legacy in the entire franchise.
For sure. And even like with, I mean, this movie and the film before it, Superior 8 Ultra Brothers, the Mebius movie, I think, might be wrong on that. The previous major film, we'll say. Both these movies did this thing where, at the time, Ultraman and Ultra 7 would show up occasionally in other shows and just help save the day. But that movie, the Mebius show, and this movie specifically were the ones to really bring back the original host actors like Susumu Kurobe, Shin Hayata, and Koji Morisugu. So Hayata and I think Dan. Oh my gosh, I should know this. I'm blanking.
It's Dan, yes. Dan Moriboshi.
Okay, thank God. I was about to get crucified.
Thank God you have me.
So, Hayata came back, Dan came back, Dinah's host came back, Cosmos, Mebius, all those guys came back for this movie. It was like, I mean, the MCU comparisons are always there, man. Like, I'm telling you. They looked.
And this
at
was a year after the MCU started.
Yeah, 2009.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
I'm telling you, and that's my tinfoil hat theory that will always remain. Because I mean, the filmmakers behind Ant-Man were like, "Yeah, we looked at Kamen Rider for Ant-Man. So what's stopping them from coming over here?"
That's the first I'm hearing of that.
Supposedly, I gotta find a source on that, but that's what I heard. So if they're looking down the tokusatsu little thing, I mean, shit, I'll go on a side tangent. We can cut this if we want. There's a scene in Kamen Rider vs. Super Sentai where all the writers and all the Sentai from 40 years of history come together out of portals and all line up, and it looks just like Avengers Endgame, but it came out in 2014.
Interesting.
Just saying. But anyways, I think the directing is really interesting too, because it was done by Koichi Sakamoto. For those of you that are like, Jacob, why is that relevant? I'm going to contextualize it for you. Sakamoto was best known for directing a shitload of Power Rangers action sequences from 96 to 2003. So that whole era from Zeo to Ninja Storm, he directed all the action stuff for Power Rangers. And then he got in the Kamen Rider. Then he directed this movie. So it's almost kind of like having a Kamen Rider director handle Ultraman. Can you see a difference, David, at all after watching some of the shows and whatnot?
Actually, yeah, I did notice that a lot of like the action sequences were like really kind of interestingly directed. Like there's a lot more like, God, I'm a bad film graduate. I'm not going to be able to describe this correctly. But there's a lot of like really like snappy camera movements that would work a lot, like really, really well in shows like Sentai and Kamen Rider, which you don't really see much in Ultraman. Like, I mean, obviously, Sakamoto has done more Ultraman stuff since then. Like he did Ultraman Trigger, Ultraman G, some of the Ultra Fight stuff as well. But it's not as like in your face as much in those shows. I feel it felt much more like obvious in this movie more than anything, from where he kind of got his start than some of the other stuff he's done.
Yeah, and I mean, I love Ultraman Geed. It's one of my favorite shows. I think it's really overlooked. I think it's kind of underrated. But I mean, we had a good discussion about Trigger today before the podcast. So.
Oh, we did. Yes, we did.
A lot of people don't like Trigger, so
I'm one of them.
Oh no. But yeah, it's just interesting to see that kind of style hit Ultraman really hard. I would personally say it's very hand to hand, if that makes sense. Like, yeah, Ultraman grapples and stuff, but I would say it's more. I might get crucified by the Ultra community for this. It's more wrestling. It's more grappling. It's more.
I mean, is that a bad thing,
flying high kicks. Oh God, no! I love it. Whereas Kamen Rider and Sentai and Power Rangers are definitely more front flips for sure, and
I mean,
hand-to-hand combat.
There are plenty of those, so there's plenty of flips in this.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
We just lost Jacob.
Oh.
Okay, there he is.
Okay.
It's still recording. So
yeah, I don't know. That was all right. I don't know what happened there.
See, they got me, dude.
The Ultra community got him.
Yeah, the Ultra fans. They had the snipers trained on you.
I did look into some of the other stuff about this movie. The director thing intrigued me the most, but this film did make some good money at the box office too, which is good for Ultra. I think it currently sits at the third highest grossing Ultraman film of all time. At the time, it was number 2. Shin Ultraman is the highest grossing Ultraman film ever. But it used to be Superior 8 Ultra Brothers before Shin Ultraman came out. So third place ain't a bad spot to be in. The film is also referred to as Large Monster, the Ultra Milky Way Legend. Cool.
I don't know how I feel about that title. It's kind of hard to find budgets for Ultra stuff. It's all good.
Maybe they're trying to hide it. Like maybe they got funding from like the Yakuza and they don't want people to know.
Oh no.
Okay.
It was also the final film appearance of Takashi Aono, who actually played Alien Zarab in a lot of Ultraman stuff, including the original show. He was the voice actor for it. So he came back for this movie and then retired. So it's nice to have him back one more time before he passed away.
That's cool.
Who was it? Takashi who?
Takeshi Aono.
Yeah, he played Alien Zarab. And he was also in a bunch of other weeb stuff, like, since we're on the topic, Transformers Victory.
He was in Smash Bros. Brawl.
Yeah, he was in a lot of stuff. He's a prolific voice actor.
One Piece, Dragon Ball, yeah.
He's the Colonel in Metal Gear.
Yeah. He was the dubbing artist for Joe Pesci and Christopher Lloyd in their movies when they came to Japan.
Okay.
Right on.
And Danny DeVito.
Oh, hell yeah, let's go.
DeVito's.
You just said the magic words, David.
Lethal Weapon 2, Home Alone 2, My Cousin Vinny.
My Cousin Vinny. Oh,
Freddy versus
wait
Jason.
a minute.
He was Freddy in the TV Tokyo edition of Freddy versus Jason.
Hold on a second. Back
Here's
up.
our rabbit hole for the episode.
Oh God.
Here's the rabbit hole segment, but back up. You're telling me that there's a Japanese dub for My Cousin Vinny?
Yeah.
David, we have to fulfill our Italian duties. We have to watch the Japanese dub of My Cousin Vinny.
We might have to. You know, here's the thing. I've never seen My Cousin Vinny. Maybe this will be the right way to watch it.
Your Italian card has been revoked. I'm sorry to say.
I know. He was also he's also Blaine, Jesse Ventura's character in Predator.
Oh my God! Really?
Dude, Alien Zarab and a bunch of tough guys.
Oh my God! He was the gyro captain in Mad Max 2. This is incredible.
Dude, Batman the Animated Series. He was the Joker.
Okay.
All right.
Dude, he's got a resume, dude.
Oh, and he was also the Great Mouse Detective. He was Basil, and I'm pretty sure Ratigan was voiced by Akira Takarada. Yeah.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Hold on,
I'm
looking at the list. I'm going down the rabbit hole.
He was in Space Jam. Yo.
He played Cheech's character from Cheech and Chong in Nash Bridges. Yeah.
Oh, he
Oh my
was
God.
Sir Topham Hatt and Thomas and Friends.
Yo! In the 1982 MTV edition of Escape from New York, he was Snake Plissken.
Oh, let's fucking go.
I'm like, yeah. Anyways,
All right, what were we talking about again?
Yeah, we gotta move on. We're gonna be on this for like an hour. This is gonna be the rest of the episode if we're not careful.
just basically a bunch of cast members returned. It was the first time for a lot of things. It was the final appearance for Mr. Takashi, and it was also another final appearance. I'd have to pull it up again. I believe one of the human host actors came back that retired from show business shortly after, but it was a young guy. It was like Dinah or something like that. But I just kind of glanced at some trivia and saw that, and I was like, oh, cool. So many firsts, many lasts, which is kind of a good way to make note that it's a milestone picture. We can also talk about the fact that there is a new dub of this movie and its sequel coming out very soon.
Oh, yeah.
Infinite Saga.
Which has a very stacked voice cast too.
Oh my gosh, yes it does.
If we're talking about voice actors, dubbed voice actors.
Does it have Joe Pesci and Danny DeVito?
Oh, God, if only.
Danny DeVito as
No,
Belial.
it has Sean Shamel, the voice of Goku, as Ultraman Zero. And Chris Sabat, the voice of Vegeta, is in it.
I'm not watching it unless Danny DeVito voices Belial.
That ain't gonna happen. I kind of dig the original voice cast though. Like Daniel Van Thomas has been the dub voice of Ultraman Zero for a few years now, and he does a stellar job. I like his voice. He's also a really cool guy. He also Daniel Van Thomas also did the voiceover in that Godzilla celebration video that played at New York Comic Con. You know, the one where they're like, Godzilla has endured for many years.
What's his name?
Daniel Van Thomas.
Voice matches
There's
the
some,
face. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, he's got a good voice. So there's your connection, Kaiju fans. You should look at Daniel Van Thomas. He's a cool guy. Voiced Zero for many years. Passing the torch now, but I think I'm going to be partial to Van Thomas over Goku. We shall see. As an introductory piece, how do you guys feel about it? You know, being something, if you're going to watch Ultraman for the first time, how do you think it stacks up? Because a lot of people say start here. Like,
So I have my answer for this, but I'm going to defer to Nick for now because he's newer with Ultra than I am.
Well, I mean, when I went to Jacob around this time last year, and I said, hey, where do you start with Ultraman? He told me that you can start anywhere. So besides the obvious answer, I think this is a really good starting point because one, you may not get the references, but the feel of Ultraman is there. Like the tokusatsu effects are there, and just the vibe is there too. Like this, like I said in the beginning of the podcast, I understood what Ultraman meant after watching this movie, only having seen like a very small amount of Ultraman. But as an introductory, yeah, 100%.
So I kind of viewed this as, and you know, we talked about the Avengers Infinity War or Endgame comparisons, but I've also heard the comparison to another movie that we've covered on this show, that being Godzilla Final Wars. And historically, that's been a pretty damn good introductory film for people who are unfamiliar with Godzilla, because it's like, all right, this movie's going to be a blast. Have the time of your life, and then we'll kind of go from there. And I feel like that's kind of the same thing here. Like, you have all these characters. Not all of them get like a big spotlight for a lot of the movie. I mean, obviously you have the original Ultraman, and you have Seven, who play kind of a supporting role. But it is like mostly Mebius and Zero who get the spotlight. But really, I do feel like it's kind of the same deal with Final Wars. Like, you can kind of just go in and be like, all right, this was awesome. Where can I see more of this aspect and this aspect and this aspect? And because there was so much Ultraman out there in the world, you can just kind of go wherever from here. You can go down any sort of path you want to take from here and see what works for you and what doesn't.
This kicks off the entire new generation heroes era, they call it. So like the second half of the Heisei era is dubbed New Generation Heroes. So Zero's kind of the Iron Man of the New Generation Heroes. He was first. He comes along. They all team up. Now Zero, if you follow along his story, as we went into the Reiwa era, Zero got his own Mantle of Ultra, which is the cool capes you see the brothers wearing. And you have to earn that. And now he's training and mentoring the Reiwa Ultraman heroes. So he'll show up and help them and teach them how to become better, better fighters for peace and whatnot.
So this movie is a good, like, passing of the torch for the next generation, is what you're saying.
Yeah, basically, yeah. It kicked off everything New Generation.
Nice.
So it just began that entire era. I can't understate its importance. I really, if we boil it down, it's a fun movie. It's a fan favorite. It played at Kaiju Brooklyn and everyone lost their minds. But I think at the end of the day, it's still a really important movie to the history of Ultraman. And, look at all Tsuburaya's press this past year has been, celebrating the 15th anniversary of Ultraman Zero. It all started here.
The first Ultra that they brought out at the Ultraman booth was Zero, so.
Yeah, I mean, Zero's kind of their, like, poster boy for the franchise.
Yeah, dude, he's just so much damn fun.
He's just fucking cool.
He's cool. He's cocky. He's the best there is. But he's also really, he can talk shit, but he can, what's the word I'm looking for?
He can talk shit, but he can back it up.
Exactly. I don't know if this is in the movie, but in a lot of the shows, when he beats the bad guys, he goes, "You think you could beat me? Try again in 20,000 years."
Yeah, that's not in the movie. I've only ever seen that in the show. I don't know where that got that start. Maybe that's from Revenge of Belial. I don't know.
The 20,000 years catchphrase. Even the Tsuburaya social media team it has mentioned the 20,000 years thing in their memes. So
really,
it's just such a fun character.
How long do you think like the legacy will last? Like, do you think they'll have another poster boy anytime soon, or is Ultraman Zero, is his face of Tsuburaya, is he here to stay?
I think he's on the Mount Rushmore. That's the way I see it. Because you have the original. He's the classic. He's the Showa, the first, Ultraman ever. God, I'd put 7 right next to him. Because Ultra 7 was broadcast in more places in the West. So, like Jeff Gomez's first show was Ultra 7. So, next to him, I'd put Ultraman Tiga. Oh my God, people love Ultraman Tiga.
That's another one that got a lot of syndication in other parts of the world.
Yeah, it was on 4Kids. But Tiga was on 4Kids. It got a lot of attention. But it also saved Ultraman. Because Ultraman 80 came out, the ratings fell, and Tsuburaya took a 16-year hiatus until 1996. And they brought Tiga back. And if Tiga didn't work, maybe they would have tried again, but they wouldn't have gone from 96 to 2025 every single year with something Ultraman like this if Tiga had not succeeded. So you got those two Showa boys, you got Tiga, and you got Zero. I don't really know who the Raiwa guy will be. I think it's going to be Z because he's the first Raiwa. I think he's getting his mantle in this new show they're releasing this month. So
Make it Christopher Sean. Just a bunch of Ultramans and then Christopher Sean for Ultraman Rising.
Oh man, yeah. But
I mean, yeah, Zet definitely seems to be the most popular. I know people like really love Blazar, which for very good reason. It's a fantastic show, but it feels too recent to really like get a grasp on how it's gonna fare in the coming years.
yeah, I know this is like a big tangent that's unrelated to the movie, but Blazar is really good because it was fresh. It's a different kind of Ultra. He's more mysterious. He's more animalistic. You know, a lot of fans call him the caveman Ultra because he just kind of hoops and hollers and stuff. So, in a lot of fans' minds, Blazar was just a fresh, new, different kind of hero. And I think Zero, in a different regard, was the same way. Zero was arrogant, but really good at what he does. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he didn't have the stoicism of the Showa heroes that were just like, you must be a hero. You must be Ultra. What would you rate the movie? Like, I'm curious. We'll do some ratings. We'll do out of 5. You can do letters.
I gave it a 4 out of 5 when I logged it on Letterboxd.
I gave it a 3.5 stars.
Damn, Nick hated it.
You're right, because if you rate anything below 7 out of 10 or anything below 4 stars, you're a hater. You rate things unfairly.
Yeah, how
I think
dare
I
you.
logged it on Letterboxd. Give me a sec.
I think it's really good. I mean, 3.5 stars, like that's a good 3.5. As a good introductory to Ultraman, as a good like all-around tokusatsu kaiju rumble.
I did not review it on Letterboxd. I need to fix that.
Fake
Oh my
fan,
God.
fake fan.
Well, hold on.
I watched
I see you logged it. You rated it.
I should have logged it for Brooklyn.
Okay.
I have it logged for 2019 and 2021, and they're both 3.5 stars. So Nick and I are spot on.
I don't know, I'm definitely enjoying Blazar a lot more than I am this.
That's
And that's fair. I like Blazar a lot more than this too, but like Jacob said, it's a very different show, and that's kind of why I liked Blazar so much, is because it's such a breath of fresh air compared to some of the other stuff that Saburai had been doing up to that point.
And also, I don't think I'm the right person to be rating Ultraman just yet, considering like how new to the franchise I am.
That's fair. I dig it.
I mean, if it makes you feel any better, Nick, I feel like that too, but I've also... I shouldn't feel like that because I've watched all the Showa stuff up to Ultraman Leo. I'm like halfway through... not Ultraman Leo, sorry. The Ultraman. I'm like halfway through 80 right now, and I've watched everything from Zet onwards, plus a couple things here and there. So, like, I'm a much bigger Ultraman fan than I give myself credit for.
I just don't want to be at the wrath of the Ultraman fans. Like, what's this Godzilla fan? What gives him the right to give his opinion on Ultraman?
I will say this. I have been knee-deep in Ultraman fandom, just, reaching out as a representative of Kaiju United. Overall, the vibe of the Ultra community, it's just a little different, and it's kind of really wholesome. I quite love it. Everyone's just kind of mellow, but I think it's a thematical difference in the content. I mean, this movie, you said you got what Ultraman was. That's my one hark on this movie, is that it's a little more Kamen Rider action. You know what I mean? it's really fun. But the core heart of Ultraman is usually that Ultraman does not intervene until humans have tried their damned hardest to solve the problem at hand, whether it's the monster of the week, an alien invader, a crisis of the world. Ultraman steps in when we have shown that we've used all of our might, our science and technology. We've put all our minds together. We've proven that we've done the best we can be. And then Ultraman will swoop in and save us. And Jeff Gomez put it the best way. He's there to teach us how to be Ultra, how we can ascend and become the Science Patrol and become a guiding force of light, for humanity. Whereas, it's always optimistic. It's almost like Superman. It's humanity can and will become better if we just look to the stars where Ultraman is. What were you saying?
I was just saying this doesn't have to go in, but it's just a random question. Would you say a good parallel to the Ultraman community and the Godzilla community is kind of like the Star Wars and Star Trek fandoms? Like, they're kind of similar, both space adventures but different. Meanwhile, Godzilla and Ultraman is like they're kind of similar, giant monsters and tokusatsu, but they're different.
Yeah, because I would say the connective tissue is that Eiji Tsuburaya was the father of both. Godzilla was created as a representation of the bomb and the terror and the horror, and that we must, atone for what we've created and done. Ultraman's here to be a guiding, a being of light from the sky. That's angelic, It's a higher being from another world that's made of light, that's pure, that only kills the monsters because they have no other choice. There's a lot of Ultra shows where they hesitate and they don't want to kill the monster, but it's their last resort. And I don't think you get that in a Godzilla film. I think it's, kaiju are inherently evil. Well, they're, the Honda quote is monsters are tragic beings. They're born too tall, too strong, too heavy. But in a lot of Godzilla media, the bad guy monster is just a bad monster.
Mm-hmm. Do you have anything else?
Just closing thoughts, unless you guys had stuff.
No, we can go closing thoughts.
Sweet. We're making some good time. All right, guys, we'll wrap it up. I guess I'll start. Again, it's everything we've said throughout this episode. It's a good starting place. It's a fun movie. It's got a lot of fun action. It's got memorable lines. Zero is such a fun protagonist to follow, even if he's arrogant and cocky. Belial is easily the funnest bad guy in Ultraman. Well, you can't go wrong with watching this movie. If you've never seen anything Ultraman, or if you're looking for something new that's, kaiju, this is a kaiju film. So give it a go. And if you haven't seen it in a while, watch it again. All right. You guys don't have anything else to really say?
It's a good movie.
Check it out. Good entry point. Definitely got me excited to check out more. I'm about, I want to say, because I just picked it up again, I want to say I'm about 9 episodes into Blazar.
Oh, you've barely scratched the surface, my friend.
I know. I saw there's like how many episodes?
It's like 25.
Okay.
It's not too bad.
No, it's like an anime, sort of. Anyways, take us home, Jacob.
All right, guys. Thank you for listening to another episode of Not Another Kaiju Podcast. You can find this podcast anywhere that you listen to podcasts on all audio platforms. Don't be afraid to come visit our site, kaijuunited.com, where there's lots of fun news, interviews, articles, all things kaiju, even bonus supplementary material on there now.
Do you want to mention we just added a new tab where you can read scripts?
Yes. Yeah, for sure. We just added a screenplays tab where you can read the scripts to some of your favorite unproduced projects and maybe some of your current, things that got released. We have Godzilla and King of the Monsters in 3D, which was written by Fred Decker, also known as the director of the Monster Squad on there. We have a annotated screenplay, Godzilla 1985. We have Peter Jackson's original 1996 vision for King Kong before it got canceled, and then he came back to do 2005. So lots of fun scripts on there. Give them a read if you haven't. But yeah, thanks guys. Hope you enjoy the episode, and stay tuned for the next one.
Bye.
So long.